So if you think your ad copy or your Google Ads targeting is killing your Google Ads performance, you're wrong. I've personally managed over 300,000 per month in Google Ads spend and audited 89 Google Ads account. And what I found out is something that almost no one is talking about. Talking about SaaS companies, content creators, and B2B businesses earning through thousands of dollars every single month on mistakes I can spot in minutes. By the way, these aren't small tweaks we're talking about here. These are massive ROAS killers that are literally destroying your campaign performance. And here's the crazy part. Once I fixed it, one client went from losing money to 2.8x ROAS in under 2 weeks, with almost zero changes to their existing ads. So before you blame your ad copy or your media buyer or even your targeting audience, watch this video because this tiny setting inside your Google Ads account might be burning your profits right now and you don't even know it. So without further ado, let's dive right in. In this video, I want to talk about the 27 Google Ads ROAS killers and how to fix them fast. This is my personal guide as a media buyer, and if you are running Google Ads for your own business or for clients, this guide will help you recover performance, optimize your spend, and scale profitably with Google Ads. So let's dive right in. So in this video, we're going to talk about the tracking and attribution failures. It's a common issue, and what are the different conversion setup errors that poisons your bidding algorithms that would also distort the reported performance of your accounts. Number two, we're also going to talk about the budget and bidding misconfigurations, which results in strategy mismatches, starved winners, and spread too thin budgets that prevent learning. Number three, we're going to talk about campaign structure issues, which results in brand cannibalization, match type chaos, and segmentation problems that would waste your ad spend. Number four, we're going to talk about feed creative and landing page gap, which results in low quality signals that crush impression share, click-through rates, and conversion rates. Then we're also going to talk about audience and placement leaks in your YouTube and display campaigns, wherein it's important to understand the different geo device network and audience targeting that bleeds your budget and also results in low value traffic or low converting traffic. I'm going to talk about a fast track recovery protocol, which is a 7-step triage process that would help you diagnose and fix your biggest ROAS issues in the next couple of days and not weeks. So let's get started. I believe that the foundation of a good performance for a Google Ads campaign always starts at having clean data. So meaning you've been able to track your conversions properly. You don't have any duplicate tracking. You don't have any mistracking issue. You've minimized misconfigured tracking, and you've also solved the iOS and then the enhanced conversion issues that a lot of the times accounts running Google Ads hasn't configured properly. Because when tracking breaks, everything downstream fails. So if you're not tracking your leads, your conversions, your conversion values properly, it doesn't matter what type of campaigns you launch, what type of bidding strategy you use. The good thing about this is that with a little bit of help with AI and with your developer, you can really solve this issue really, really quickly. So the first thing you need to do is you need to identify, do you have a broken or a misleading conversion tracking? Let's talk about why it kills ROAS. And a few years ago, you might be able to run Google Ads without any issue. You might not need conversion tracking because, again, as long as you're driving traffic to your website, you'll be able to capture that lead, be able to get them on a call, maybe get them to purchase your product service. But now Google relies on smart bidding because of the changes in the privacy stuff and with conversion tracking data, with iOS updates and stuff, becoming more reliant into what's called machine learning or smart bidding strategies, wherein it leverages the algorithm or what it knows about a particular user in order to convert or attract the right people into your website. If you don't have the right data, or if you feed Google Ads with the wrong data, it will optimize for the wrong things. One quick example is that if you're double counting conversions, let's say you're getting like 2 purchases when it should just be 1 purchase. If Google looks at that particular campaign, oh, this campaign is really working well, it's going to put more budget, put more traffic. It's thinking that it's generating you more conversions than what it really is. And that can result into like wrong optimization of the account. Like Google can favor that particular campaign because it thinks it's doing really well, when in reality it's not. Another common issue that I see is that people are thinking that if you put more conversions as primary, it's better for your Google Ads account. But in reality, it's not. Like you just need 1 primary conversion, and that's usually the end goal or the end conversion that you're looking for. So let's say if you're an e-commerce website, you're looking for a purchase conversion. You don't care for an email submission or a contact form submission. You want people to be purchasing your products from your e-commerce website. That should be your primary goal, the purchase conversion. Now, let's say you're running a lead generation type of campaign. You don't have a purchase conversion, then a leads form submission or a lead conversion would be your primary goal. Don't make the mistake of enabling like page visits, button clicks, or contact form submissions, or like lower soft events as kind of like a primary goal. Because again, that will confuse the algorithm on what type of audience you would like to convert. Okay, so here's a quick diagnostic check. All you need to do is look into your Google Ads account, go to tools, go to conversions, and then ensure that you only have one primary conversion, that it has a dynamic value added into it. Now, obviously, if you have an e-commerce website, it should change whether they bought one product, two products, three products. That conversion value should be dynamic, meaning it changes based on the total cart value. Also verify that you don't have any page view scrolls or engagement metrics configured as a primary goal. So make sure that you're not duplicating your conversion events. So let's say you already have a conversion event, a purchase event coming from Google Analytics 4, because you can create that. You can create a Google Analytics 4 purchase event and then send it back to Google Ads. But you can also create another one based on like URL or website or global tags. So make sure that you're only using one primary conversion event and then turn off or delete or put them in secondary if you have like multiple versions of the same conversion event. Okay, so here are additional fixes that you can do with comes to conversion tracking. Make sure that you only have one primary conversion event. You also want to enable enhanced conversion and consent mode. These are super important, especially if you're targeting traffic from the European countries. Now, if you don't know how to implement them, ask your developer or reach out to me and my team, and we'll be able to help you sort it out. If you have a CRM like Salesforce, wherein you have offline conversion events, meaning the conversion happened maybe by a phone, by a webinar, wherein it's not directly tied into a Google Ads, if you're able to pull in those details, those conversion events with the Google Click IDs, then you can pass them back into your Google Ads account for complete performance. Okay, so here's issue number 2. And here's why a clean conversion data is super important. You want to use smart bidding strategies like target ROAS and target CPA. If you don't have clean data, you won't be able to optimize properly. If you don't have correct conversion values, you won't be able to use target ROAS bidding properly, which means that this smart bidding strategies might not perform as well as it should. So here's what you need to do. Do you have at least 30 conversions in the last 30 days in your account or in your campaign? If you don't have, make sure you try to get as many conversions as you can, because that is when the smart bidding or the algorithm kind of kicks in. So you need at least 30 for target CPA and at least 50 if you want to use target ROAS bidding. So what do I do if my conversions are low? Easy. All you need to do is drive more conversions. So which is why I recommend starting with like the lowest hanging fruits. Build campaigns that are branded campaigns, remarketing campaigns, and campaigns that have the highest converting keywords, meaning the highest intent keywords to whatever it is that you're selling. Because again, that will drive that initial volume of data that Google needs to kind of start optimizing and using these smart bidding strategies. Again, 30 for target CPA and 50 for target ROAS bidding. Okay, so issues number 3 to 7. Let's talk about quickly like the different campaign structure killers. Now you have conversion tracking in place. Now you have bidding strategies. Let's talk about how you should be structuring your campaigns, because I see these all the time. If you're going to use broad match, please make sure that you're using negative keywords. Make sure you're using the right bidding strategy in order to optimize for like the ROAS goals or the target CPA goal that you need. Try to add exact and phrase matches inside that same ad group with those broad keywords. And also make sure that you monitor everything daily. If you cannot do daily, at least once a week, so that you can start eliminating queries that are not relevant to whatever it is that you're selling. Okay, let's talk about another campaign structure called PMAX cannibalizing brand. So sometimes PMAX campaigns are showing like really good performance, but when you look under the hood, the reason why they're really working well is that they're attracting branded traffic. So meaning people searching about your company name or your brand. And if you have like 3 or 4 of these campaigns wherein they are all targeting branded keywords, that is an overlap on those campaigns, and that's not going to be efficient. It's not going to help you grow your Google Ads account, because you need new customers coming in. And that type of strategy gives you false positive that those PMAX campaigns are really working well, but in reality, they're just branded campaigns hidden inside those PMAX campaigns. Now let's talk about geo language and network leakage. Be careful where you put your ad budgets, right? Like there's a setting inside your Google Ads account with regards to like the location targeting. Like the default is it's showing up to people who are not even in your target location. So for example, you want to target all the people who are physically present in the United States. The default setting on Google Ads is even if they are not in United States, but they have intent of going or traveling to United States, even if they're not physically there, they show up your ads. And there are some use cases wherein that might be useful, but the default setting, that's the default setting on Google Ads. What you want to do most of the time is you want to use presence only on the actual location. So you want it to be, change it to the other setting wherein you're only showing up when they are currently present in that location. You also want to check out the network targeting called search partners, because most of the time the traffic coming from search partners are really low quality and they usually never convert. So I usually just exclude them. Okay, so make sure you look into these settings because again, they can be tricky. And if you leave them by default, they would just really eat up your budget. And we definitely don't want to do that. If we want to improve the ROAS, we need to make sure that we are mindful of where we're putting our ad budgets. So the next one that I want to talk about is if you're running Google Shopping, you want to look at the product feed quality. So the product feed is basically an XML file of all the products, the attributes, the titles, the images of your product page or your particular stock inventories at the back end of your website or your e-commerce website, right? So sometimes these product XML feeds are not configured properly, meaning they don't have titles, they don't have attributes, they don't have GTINs. That affects your overall Google merchant health. So you want to make sure that you're adding high resolution images. You have titles that are query match, meaning they are targeted for a particular keyword, so it will show up for more searches. Make sure that the attributes are complete as much as possible. And then you also want to ensure that your product feeds are synced at least once a day into the Google Merchant and into your e-commerce website. So every day, if there are changes in, say, in stocks, in prices, every day sync automatically within like Google Merchant and your website. And if you need like more data to come quickly, you can increase the frequency of the sync to at least twice a day. Now, here's another common issue. We usually see a campaign wherein they're starving the winners, meaning those winners would like to scale. Let's say you're targeting the United States and there's a certain state that is just generating massive volumes or massive results on conversions, but the rest of the states in the United States is not generating enough volume. Now, because they're in one campaign, what might be happening is all of the budget are just going to this one strong state, and the rest of the state are not really getting a lot of like budgets. So you want to separate that particular state, that winning state, so that you can put as much budget as you can. And then for the rest of the states that are not getting that good results, you're giving them more chance because now they have their own separate budgets, right? Okay, let's quickly talk about landing page optimization and conversion friction. If your media buyer is only concerned with Google Ads and not looking into the website, not looking into conversion rate optimization, that's not a good strategy for a media buyer because Google Ads is just the initial click. It is where your high quality traffic is coming from, but the one that will do the job to convert that visitor into a buyer or into a high quality lead is your landing page or the copy or the website or the funnel, whatever it is that you're using as kind of like a landing page. A quick fix that you should always check is that, is my website loading properly? Do I have a slow loading website? If you don't know what to do, you just go search, check Core Web Vitals and check out the mobile speed, check out the overall speed. And then you also want to check what is the copy or the message in this landing page? Is it related to the ad that they just clicked on? Because if it's not, they are going to most likely convert. One example is, let's say, on my ad, I'm showing up as located, let's say, specifically in Toronto. Let's say I'm a Toronto plumber. And then on my landing page, it says Canada plumber, right? Like it's totally disconnected. Like you want that landing page and that ad copy to have a complete match so that that person who clicked from your ad and going to the landing page, that bounce off and they would see that, yeah, this is definitely what I clicked on. This is what I expected. It provides a good user experience and that's what Google loves. So Google would reward you with like low quality scores and lower cost per clicks. Now, I want to quickly talk about value-based bidding, also having like wrong conversion values and how it can affect your return on ad spend. Let's say you have a website that has different price points. Like you have one product that costs like $10. You have products that cost as much as $500 to $1,000, right? So you have different price points. If you're only running Google Ads to, let's say, only measure a conversion, Google wouldn't know if let's say you're only running like a conversion, like a purchase conversion inside your Google Ads account without value-based conversion values, right? What would happen is that Google will not be able to determine the difference between a $10 purchase versus a 100 or a $1,000 purchase, right? And there's value to targeting $1,000 purchases, because you can basically get more of that type of person who bought that product and basically sell more to that person, right? But if you are telling Google, oh, they're the same, like I don't care whether it's a $10 or $8,000 purchase, as long as I'm getting conversion, Google wouldn't know, okay? And you won't be able to tap into value-based bidding. Again, usually you want to tap into this high ticket, high lifetime value customers, because again, this can provide you with like much better targeting. Google will be able to go after those people who has a higher ability to purchase like high ticket items. So you need to be able to implement value-based bidding in order to be able to do that. Okay. And then once you have that into your tracking, you can now start telling Google to, hey, I want to go after like new customer acquisition, especially in PMAX campaign. You can also upload like offline conversions with the actual margins. Let's say you're like doing like a B2B and they have a long sales cycle, and you have like a Salesforce, like a CRM that kind of has like offline conversion tracking data. You can now pull that data back into your Google Ads account and then kind of create this value-based bidding audience as well. Okay, so let's talk about the targeting, the creative, and audience waste, right? So if you are not disciplined in adding negative keywords, that can affect the quality of your Google Ads campaigns, because you'll get a lot of like irrelevant queries and competitor terms that you may or may not want to be targeted. So make sure that you do at least once a week of like search term query reports, and then add as many negatives as you want. Now, there are tools and AI software that can help you with this, so make sure you check it out if you want to save time. Next, I want to talk about the over and under segmentation of campaigns. Now, depending on the style of that media buyer, they tend to be over segmenting and some people are under segmenting. So you want to be able to find a quick mix. Now, there is no one quick solution for every single niche out there, but here's a good guideline. You want to group your keywords by intent and by economics, and you also want to group them to 10 to 30 keywords per ad group. And again, this is just a quick guideline or starting something, but you want to try getting granular, but also you want to try to combine or consolidate them and see what works better in your particular niche or situation. Now, when it comes to responsive search ads and creative mismanagement, it can also result into like a lower ad strength, which would result in lower quality scores, which results in more expensive clicks, resulting in lower ROAS. So what you want to do is you want to avoid overpinning, because that limits the ability for the AI to optimize or dynamically optimize the best placement. So make sure that you don't use overpinning. Now, if you definitely want to use pinning, I would suggest that you only pin a couple of like your headlines, so that you don't do overpinning. You still allow the algorithm to optimize it for you. You also want to add at least 12 to 15 headlines, especially with this responsive search ads, because again, Google is trying to find the best combination. So you want to use different, like not just variations, but like really different like cognitive biases in your headlines, like add a little bit of urgency, add a little bit of copywriting styles in your headline, and try to test out which one generates the best results for your particular business. You also want to refresh creatives every 4 to 6 months. Now, as a minimum, I would like creatives to be refreshed at least like once or twice a month, because that allows you enough time to actually split test and determine the winners. And then you want to split test the winners, you want to cut off the losers, and then split the winners for that particular period, and then split test with a new set of ads. That way you're constantly improving your conversion rates incrementally over a certain period of time. Next, you want to make sure that you're not just relying on cold traffic. You also want to leverage like remarketing audiences, because remarketing audiences are much warmer audiences that probably knows or like and trust your brand, so they would probably convert at a much higher rate. And you can do that by layering in remarketing audiences. You can create that from website visits, from YouTube videos, remarketing list. You can also create like similar audiences, lookalike audiences, and even customer matches. So if you have a list of, let's say, names and emails and phone numbers. And so let's say you have a list of buyers, you can upload that into your Google Ads account, create a customer match list, and then you'll be able to then create an audience based on those types of like users. You can also create like a lookalike audience based on like your customers match list, so that let's say you want to create a lookalike audience of your best buyers, you can create that inside your Google Ads account. Okay, I want to quickly also talk about like display and YouTube placement issues, because if you're starting to run display ads and YouTube ads and you haven't used exclusions, most of the time you might be getting traffic from low quality placements like mobile app. You might also be getting traffic from YouTube channels that are totally related to kids content. So most likely they will never convert. So you want to make sure that you're excluding those channels, you're excluding those apps. You can even exclude entire mobile app categories if you don't want to show your ads in any of the mobile apps. Now, if you're using dynamic search ads, make sure that you're not allowing your Google Ads campaigns to crawl every little page or every page on your website. What you want to do is you only want to provide like your top pages, let's say your top blog posts, your top page URLs, and then create that in a feed, upload it in the business data section of your Google Ads account, and then just use that for your dynamic search ad campaigns. Okay, so let's talk about issues number 19 to 27. And these are some advanced optimization gaps. If you are not using the seasonality adjustment within Google Ads, you might be missing out on opportunities for raising budgets quickly, especially if, let's say, there's a promotion, an upcoming promotion, and you're expecting your conversion rates to drastically improve because of the promotion. You want to be able to add a seasonality adjustment in your campaign, because again, this seasonality adjustments would apply budget increase automatically, which will help your campaigns generate more conversions during that short promotion. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is a poor experimentation discipline. Now, if you are prone to big account changes because you're thinking that, yeah, if I do a drastic change on my account, it would result in a dramatic shift, a positive shift, and usually it doesn't work that way. Usually it's the opposite. Like the bigger changes that you do on your Google Ads accounts, especially if it's running really well, most of the time it does create like a negative effect. So you want to make sure that you're running tests systematically and methodically. And you also want to, once you're running tests, you want to let it run for at least 7 to 14 days so that you have enough data, because again, 7 to 14 days kind of just gives the algorithm enough time to actually learn what's working and what's not working and kind of optimize it from there. Next, you want to make sure again that your search partners, they are unchecked, because search partners, that network is just a known source of like low quality traffic. It can still generate some conversions, as I've seen in the last couple of months. But again, the amount of like low quality traffic coming in from this one personally doesn't warrant an additional budget on mine. I'd rather put that budget on other campaigns rather than put that budget in the search partner network. Now, let's talk about the misuse of match types. You have to understand that if you're only using exact match keywords, you'll definitely be limited by search volume. So if you want to scale, if you want to generate more volume, you won't get a lot of traffic, because again, the exact matches are limited by how many people are searching for that particular query. Now, if you want to add broad and phrase matches, make sure that you're adding a lot of negative keywords. So what I want to do is I usually add a mix of both. I start usually with exact, and then I add phrase. And then if I really want to scale, and then I need to make sure that I'm monitoring this properly and monitoring this on a weekly basis. Like you're adding a lot of negative keywords, that's when I'm starting to add like a broad match keywords. Now let's talk about like the video creative fatigue. If you're running display ads or YouTube ads, make sure that you put a cap on the frequency or how many times a particular video is shown to a particular user. So I usually put this between 2 to 3 frequency every week, so that it doesn't saturate that particular audience, it doesn't annoy that audience. Another strategy that I would like you to consider is to exclude existing customers, because if your goal is to acquire new customers and your Google Ads, your budget is actually just showing up to your recurring or existing customers because it knows that it's going to convert much better. Again, Google will try to go after those people that it thinks it will convert much better, so that it can show you a better stat. If you don't want to do that, you want to focus your budget on new acquisition of new customers, you can exclude your existing customers and make sure that they are not being targeted in your Google Ads campaigns. Okay, let's talk about misaligned ad scheduling and device strategy. Let's say your your business is only open between 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, it doesn't make sense to run ads like 24 hours a day, especially if there's no one answering the phone or answering the email. So what you want to do is you want to use ad scheduling, and you want to make sure that they're turned off during those hours wherein even a low cheap conversion doesn't make sense because no one's going to answer it. And then the other strategy is if you identify that majority of your traffic is only coming from, let's say, mobile devices, and only 10% of the traffic or conversions are coming from desktop devices, then maybe it makes sense to just move all of your budgets into a mobile device strategy or a mobile device campaign. Now let's talk about policy disapproval or blind spots. If you have a Google Ads account that is in one of the restricted categories, like in health, right? Like you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of like limited campaigns or limited ads, because limited ad means that your ads will not show up to as many people as possible, and that limits your reach, that limits your traffic, that limits your potential for revenue. So what you want to do is you want to appeal that, you want to identify what may be the issue, and try to work with the Google rep to kind of how to resolve it. Like most of the time, if you do the changes that they recommend, it will be resolved and you'll be able to run your ads without any limitation. Okay, and last but not the least, we'll talk about the poor account hygiene. Now again, this is just best practice. As a media buyer, you want to make sure that you have good naming conventions, you use standardized UTM, so that when you look back and you try to assess the data, when you look into what's working, what's not working, you won't be confused, because you have like an easy way to identify your campaign structure, your UTMs, what the data is telling. So again, this is just like related to like good account hygiene. This is definitely something that a good media buyer has to practice. Okay, so let's talk about the fast threads, and here's how to recover ROAS in exactly 7 steps. So when performance drops, follow this protocol to diagnose and fix your biggest ROAS drains quickly. So first one is, again, you want to audit your conversions. You want to make sure that you only have one primary conversion. If you're an e-commerce website, you have a purchase event with the correct value, dynamic value, dedupe tags. If there are multiple conversions, you want to make sure that you only have one conversion. You want to enable enhanced conversions and consent mode for privacy issues and just for compliance stuff. And you want to exclude soft events from optimization. So again, you don't want to optimize for button clicks. You don't want to optimize for page views. You don't want to optimize for like any other conversions. You only want your primary conversion to be the focus for optimization. Next, you want to separate the brand versus the non-branded campaigns, and you want to protect your brand name so that your competitors won't be able to swipe your brand traffic, but you also want to make sure that it's excluded in majority of your campaigns. So if you were running like a branded PMAX campaign, you don't want the other PMAX campaigns to also have like a branded campaign. So that's one of the most common issues. If you have like multiple PMAX campaigns, you're not using the brand exclusion. So make sure you use the brand exclusion, especially if you have like multiple PMAX campaigns. Next, you want to switch to value-based bidding as fast as you can. Again, you need 50 conversions to kind of use target ROAS. And then once you've used target ROAS, make sure that you're using like value-based bidding. So that means you're passing the right data back to Google Ads, because that would allow you to then to maximize your targeting for the highest quality type of audience. Because if you're telling Google this type of conversion, I want you to go after like the higher lifetime value customers, you'll be able to do that as long as it's switched to a value-based bidding optimization. Next, you want to do an account level keyword list. So meaning like if it's like job related list, like you want to add that as a negative keywords, like a low quality filter, like negative keywords like cheap, free, if you want to add that. So you want to create like an account level negative list, and then you also want to do like a weekly negative list based on the impressions that are coming on your campaigns every single week. Next, you want to fix your feed if you're running Google Shopping, and you want to also fix your landing page. So make sure you're optimizing your titles, your images, your GTINs, you're syncing your prices, your inventories, and then you also want to make sure that your websites are loading fast. Check core website vitals to check out your landing pages, fix your images, compress those images in, make sure that you don't have any bulk codes on your pages so that it's load properly and loads quickly. And you also want to have like a simplified checkout. Next, you want to consolidate budgets so that you focus your spend on like one particular campaign that can generate, let's say, that initial 30 to 50 conversions in the next 30 days. But if you have like a lot of spend and you have a lot of conversions, then that's when you can kind of start expanding and creating like multiple segments of campaigns. But initially, you want to consolidate that so that you have like one focus on all of your budgets. And especially if your ROAS is tanking, let's say you have like dozens and multiples of like campaigns running, you want to consolidate that so you can control the budgets as well as you can control the ROAS and the performance. And then last but not least is if you want to improve your ROAS, rather than just focusing on cold traffic, you want to focus on marketing audiences. You want to bring back people who have been to your website, who probably know and trust and like you already, and try to convert them so that could help with the initial improvement of your ROAS campaigns. Again, you can use remarketing audience list from people who viewed YouTube ads, people who subscribe to your channel, people who have visited your website, people who have visited your sales page but hasn't checked out. So there are many ways to build this remarketing audience list. And again, you also want to add caps or frequency caps to your YouTube and display ads so that you're not constantly, you're not annoying your potential audience. So let's say I usually put a cap of like 2 to 3 views per week. Like that would be my cap on these types of campaigns. So if you have any questions with regards to Google Ads or improving your ROAS, let me know in the comments below this video. And if you've tried everything and you're still wondering why you can scale Google Ads, watch this video for the fix. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.